Hey, what's up, everybody? Andrew Sloss, certified senior professional career coach, coming at you tonight. Was speaking with a client the other day. He'd asked me a question, kind of give me a feel for how you can get a sense of a workplace culture before you start. I've written a little bit about it. I think I have at least one other video that talks a little bit about it, but it was during that conversation with him, it reminded me of my own experience. This was a long time ago. I thought I would share it with you, in case it helps. Right? That's the goal here, is to help you. So, a long time ago, for those of you who don't know, I am a recovering attorney, and so this was probably, I think I was actually interviewing for a job either when I was still in law school or maybe when I just had passed the bar. I forget where I was in that process, but I was interviewing for a fairly large firm in the Minneapolis St. Paul area. Um, it was a firm that was very well known, would have been a great job to have, right out of law school, but it also had a reputation among law students of being not a great place to work, um, because of the time demands and some verbal abuse things that would happen there. And unfortunately, in the practice of law, the law profession is not the greatest place if you want to be in a healthy work environment, because there's lots and lots of unhealthy work environments uh, in the legal profession, regardless of the type of law you practice. But anyway, so I had got an interview for this large law firm. Keep in mind, this was long before there was Zoom and Skype and all that other stuff. So interviews are always done in person, never done over the phone. Everything was always in person. So I think this was like, it might have been my second interview, maybe my first one. I don't really remember. But so I was interviewing. I interviewed with, I don't know, one or two people, and the first person I interviewed with was the managing partner who was going to be my boss. And um, so one of the things I wanted to get a feel for was kind of what it was like to work on the floor there every day, if possible. And so I was in a conference room doing the interview. At some point, I had asked them if I could use the bathroom, and I was hoping that the bathroom would be somewhere far away where I would have to walk across the floor and kind of get a feel. And so, sure enough, it was. It actually was on the other side of the building. And so they brought me to the bathroom to point out where it was, and they said, can you make your way back? Okay, fine. I'm like, yeah, not a problem, which is all part of my plan. I did have to use the facilities, but on the way back, I got lost intentionally and kind of wandered around acting like I didn't know how to get back to the conference room. And while I was doing that, I was able to observe quite a lot of things. I observed how people worked a little bit. I observed kind of the atmosphere. It was a very tense atmosphere from what I could pick up. It's very important to use all of your senses when you're doing this sort of thing, not just your eyes, but to really kind of feel the atmosphere. And you can really do that if you focus and concentrate on it. So it felt tense. I felt a lot of tension among the associates that were on the floor. And then I was about ready to make my way back to the conference room when I walked by a partner's office, and it happened to be the partner I was going to be working for, and he was in there just berating two associates. He was cursing them out and yelling at them, and even let's say they even did something terribly wrong and they screwed up a case. That wasn't the way that you treat people, in my opinion. And so I went back to the conference room, finished the interview, and then when they followed up with me, I don't remember if they followed up with me or if I just sent them an email shortly afterwards thanking them for their time. But then I declined moving forward in the interview process. No one asked me why, so I wasn't able to provide feedback, but I share that story because if you are concerned about working in a hostile work environment, you're concerned about working in a toxic workplace, there's never a guarantee. I can't give you one silver bullet thing that will help guarantee that if you go to work for a place, it's not going to be toxic. But there is one thing I could recommend that you do, and this is going to be probably more applicable to people who are applying for jobs that are more senior in their roles. Not that you can't make this ask if you're a brand new, fresh out of college, or you have five or less years of experience, but you might not get the same treatment honestly, than if you're a little more seasoned, a little more experienced, if you're going to be a manager of some people, things like that. But my recommendation to you, especially if, because you're probably doing lots of interviews over Zoom, or Skype, or who knows, whatever now. And so lots of times, you're going to get hired without having to go into an office. I would tell you, though, as you advance through that process, especially if you're going to manage people, or if you're going to be on a team that's managed by somebody else, when you get towards the end of that process and you become one of the finalists, it's worth the ask to say, hey, you know what, I've really enjoyed this process. This could be something you even, bring up at the end of an interview if they ask you is there anything else. Just say, hey, I just, if you decide to move me along this process, I would really like an opportunity to come on site, meet the team in person, meet my manager in person, just so I can kind of, feel a bit more comfortable about being in person versus over the Zoom thing, and see what they say. Because if you can do that, if you can get on site at a facility, at a place you're going to be working, you can kind of pull the trick I did. Now, lots of times, the bathroom might be close to the elevators and it's not going to work as much, but still there's a benefit to being on site. So if you can get an interview to be on site and even ask, I would say, hey, would you just mind, if like, so, because sometimes you might show up to the reception area of a company and the conference room that you're going to interview is like right there. And so you're in the conference room, you're back in the reception area, and they go home. It wouldn't hurt you to ask, hey, what, is it cool? Can you give me just a tour of the office real quick? And again, while you're getting the tour of the office, don't be listening to whatever they're telling you about the office. Just listen to what's happening in the office. Kind of get a sense for what's going on. Don't close your eyes as you're walking around, but, really kind of tap into your senses and see if you can pick up on anything that's going on in the office, because that's a good way to kind of figure out, I don't know, I got an off feeling about that. And then if you get that off feeling, I would then encourage you to ask a lot more questions in the interview process. When you do, like, one question I definitely encourage all my clients to ask is, please give me an example of changes that you've implemented based on feedback you've received from employees. And if they can give you an example of, hey, an employee said that this was an issue and this is what we did to fix it, that's awesome. That's definitely a strong sign of a healthy work environment. Not a guarantee, but it's a strong indication that it could be a healthy work environment. And if you ask that question, again, the question is, please give me an example of something that the company has changed based on employee feedback. If they can't give you an example, or they say, oh, we started instituting pizza parties, or we started giving people an extra day off, or things like that, like, for me, that would be a red flag that there's burnout, that they're not listening to their employees, that there's not really a culture there that's going to be healthy for you. So there are ways to kind of try to sniff that out in the interview process. Again, like I said, no guarantees, but those are a couple of tricks and tips I would use if I were you. If you have any, I want to hear them. Put them in the comments, send me a message, whatever you want to do. And otherwise, I wish you the best of luck in your job search. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.